On the outskirts of a small town stood an abandoned house, left vacant years ago. The townspeople had witnessed the peculiar behavior of the house's former owners, and as a result, had chosen to steer clear of it. Rumors circulated about the house, suggesting that strange events occurred within its walls, but nobody knew the truth. One of the town's young residents, named John, harbored a great curiosity about this old house. Known for his fearlessness, his friends approached him with an offer to explore the inside, and John accepted the proposal. The door to the house was old and rusty, but John and his friends mustered the courage to enter. Inside, it was covered in dust and cobwebs, bearing the appearance of abandonment for years. Old belongings and furniture were scattered in every corner, but they had decayed under the passage of time. John, along with his friends, ventured upstairs. Here, they found old possessions and family photographs belonging to the house's previous owners. However, the most striking discovery was a large wooden wardrobe in the bedroom. The wardrobe appeared as though it had gone unused for years. When John opened the wardrobe's doors, he found a trove of old clothes and family documents inside. But the most intriguing find was strange symbols etched into the inner wall of the wardrobe. The symbols were so ancient that John couldn't comprehend their meaning, and nobody else knew either. John and his friends peered into the wardrobe for a while, studying the symbols. Suddenly, an eerie silence settled in the room, and within it, John heard a distant whisper. His friends also heard the whisper and nervously looked around. The whisper quickly escalated, and a strange vibration was felt within the house. John and his friends attempted to distance themselves from the wardrobe in fear, but something seemed to hold them in place. In that moment, a peculiar energy wave surged through the room, and John found himself in a different place. John and his friends suddenly found themselves in a strange location that felt as though they were enchanted. This place resembled a forest outside of town, but it was entirely unfamiliar. Their hope of returning home had dwindled, and John knew he had to unravel the mysteries of this bizarre world. As they ventured through the forest, they followed the traces of strange occurrences. Trees moved surreptitiously, birds sang peculiar songs, and the wind intensified in an eerie manner. John realized that something was amiss in this world, but he wanted to instill courage in his friends. As night fell, they spotted a source of light. They approached the light and discovered another abandoned house, similar to the first one, with peculiar symbols adorning its walls. The inside of this house was also filled with an unsettling silence. John and his friends began to explore the interior of this strange house. Each room held traces of the past, with old furniture, dusty curtains, and dusty shelves bearing old books. However, the most notable aspect was that the symbols on the walls continued inside the house. John closely examined the symbols and urged his friends to do the same, but their attempts to decipher their meaning were in vain. The symbols seemed to guard their mystery. In the late hours of the night, the house was enveloped in silence. John and his friends felt that something awaited them. Suddenly, a strange sound emanated from the basement of the house. Rustling footsteps and moans echoed. With curiosity, they descended to the basement and encountered a bedroom. The bed was surrounded by the same strange symbols, and a pentagram was placed on the bed. John and his friends were horrified by this sight. Suddenly, the room darkened, and the symbols on the bed began to glow. They were drawn toward it by an inexplicable force, and John and his friends felt trapped. They couldn't move from their positions. It was as if they were held by a magnetic pull. As the room filled with a peculiar energy, John and his friends began to witness the dark secrets of the past. They saw a tragic event that had unfolded in this very room years ago. A family had been conducting bizarre rituals in the house, summoning terrifying entities using the power of the symbols. As they watched these horrifying moments unfold, John and his friends were filled with terror. However, the event swiftly came to an end, and the room was once again bathed in light. They were released from their confinement and looked at each other with bated breath. Now they knew the secrets of this house, but they had to come to terms with what they had learned. They returned to the town but kept their experiences to themselves. However, this ordeal would haunt them for the rest of their lives. Whenever they closed their eyes at night, they would still see the haunting symbols and the dark events that had occurred in that room. The small town couldn't forget the mysterious house, and rumors of its cursed nature continued to be passed down through generations.